Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to do a video discussing the top 5 things every sim racer should probably look at when they're starting out. Try to help you navigate getting into sim racing as a whole, because I've had a lot of questions regarding what equipment should I use, what should I really buy, and my biggest thing is try to focus on future proofing. So we're going to discuss some of that as we get into this video. So come on, let's take a look. Okay, so first things first here. You're probably thinking, what's it going to take to be able to run iRacing? When I say you could probably run it on a potato, well, that sounds kind of crazy, but it doesn't take as much horsepower under the hood as you would think. The easiest way to check to see if your machine can run iRacing is to come over to the iRacing.com site, memberships, and then system requirements. Once you're on this page, there's a whole lot of information, but the stuff that we're really looking for is further down the bottom of the page here. So we'll scroll down. The easy way to do this, they have a little software you can click on Find Out. It'll download a piece of software, you run it on the machine, it'll give you all the info that you need. Now let's say you don't have a machine yet, you're looking at buying a machine, or you want to build a machine. The easy thing here is to continue to scroll down, and they have, you know, your base minimum requirements, which to me are a little on the old side, so we'll kind of cover that here a little bit. Keep in mind, currently iRacing is very single core dependent, meaning it doesn't take advantage of the multi-thread features that most processors run at this point. That's not to say that that's not coming. We've seen in recent update notes, stuff like that, they're working towards that, so I would expect that to be coming, I would think, within the next year, maybe 2, kind of depends. I mean, right now they recommend minimum wise 4 cores. I would say that that's a little on the light side. I would be looking more at you know, your 6 core and up minimum. Like I said, a lot of these are a little on the outdated side. Does that mean an older processor can't run it? No, I would not say that at all. My system specs, I run on an i7, a 12th gen. Prior to that, I was running on an i5, and we'll kind of cover that a little bit once I get through all of this, but you can run it on an array of processors. My expertise is in Intel. I do know some guys that are running on AMD and don't have major issues with it, so that's, you know, you have options there. As far as the memory, it's saying that the minimum and the recommended is 16 gigs. I would start out more at 32, and I say this because by the time you start getting into iRacing, you want to find out, okay, we're in the game, we're actually doing racing, there's other things that we're going to cover later in this video that are going to come into play and going to use some of those resources. It's good to have the extra horsepower. If you plan to stream, I would suggest at least 64. And we'll get to that as well on the back end of this video. The key thing here that a lot of people strive for, they want realism. They want it to look the best that they can get it. And that's all going to come down to your graphics card. Again, it's saying you can run it on a 1060. I think, if I remember correctly, with the latest update, the 1060 is almost obsolete for the game at this point. It can do it, it doesn't like it. I would be looking at, you know, at least in the 2000 series range of cards, if not the 3s. If you're putting something together, a 3060 is a good run-of-the-mill card. My good buddy JD McHaley runs a 3060 with triples, so if that gives you any idea, like I was saying at the start of this video, we're looking at future-proof. So it is something to look at. As far as your storage and stuff like that, I would look at least a computer that's got a solid state hard drive, if not an M2. It'll help you with your replays, smoothness, all of that. I would also look at something with a decent amount of storage. You know, in this day and age, it's not like solid states are super expensive to get a full terabyte or even a 2 terabyte for that matter. But you are going to download cars, you're going to download tracks, all this is going to add up. So plan, I would say, if it's me, minimum a terabyte, then that way you've got more than enough for later on down the road. Okay, so this brings us to our first major piece. Number one thing when it comes to figuring out what you want to do as far as iRacing is going to come down to your wheel. That being said, there's a lot of options out there as far as various different wheels. You have Logitech, you have Moza, you have Thrustmaster, Fanatec. The list kind of goes on, and it's all what fits your budget. What are you planning to do? What are you going to do with it? You know, is this going to be something that you're just going to play iRacing with? Are you going to play American Truck Simulator with it? Are you going to use it on an Xbox, PC, PlayStation? All of that stuff kind of rolls into where do I spend my money? The one place that I see a lot of people struggle is here. And when I say struggle, I don't mean like I'm struggling to figure out what I want to buy. I struggle with, I bought this product and now I wished I hadn't. Kind of buyer's remorse, if you will. As far as that goes, I will say you can't go wrong with the idea of buying a cheaper wheel to do a test out, because then you're not going to have all this money wrapped up into a direct drive. Just to go, man, I really don't like this. I'm not having fun. So one logical option, it's the option that I started out with, Miss Robin now uses this as well, is the handy dandy G923. You know, you can get, this comes in a PlayStation version, it comes in an Xbox version, so you can use it on more than just your computer. The disadvantages to this wheel, it is gear driven. By that, I mean it has little gears, and I know you can't see me doing it on screen right now, but I can feel the slop. It's ever so slight in between those teeth. It is kind of noisy, so take that into consideration. You can, with iRacing, at least tune this out a little bit with their handy dandy wheel feature. And what I've found, at least 2 or 3 people that run this wheel, it's right around 14.5% minimum wheel force to about 15. So if you're struggling with that, you've been on iRacing for a while, give that a shot on your min wheel force. That may cause this to be a little more realistic on the force feedback. Again, it's a cheaper wheel, so the buttons are kind of, you know, they're like a controller. Shifters are not as firm. But this is a really great setup for somebody looking to just get into racing. You kind of can't go wrong with it, to be quite honest. As far as with this wheel, it comes with the pedals as well. We'll get into that a little bit more, but the pedals leave a little bit to be desired. I'll say that. Now, your other option is to go something more like a Thrustmaster TMX that is belt driven, so the force feedback's a little bit better. I don't have any experience with that. I know a few people that do, and they're a good wheel. They're, again, a little bit more than the Logitech, but for a more real feel, you could easily go that route and be pretty happy. The other route is to go for a more direct drive, like the Moza. Granted, I realize this is just a wheel. It does not have the base. The nice thing with Moza is they offer multiple different options. They do have the R3 coming out. I think that's here in the next couple of months. I know they were waiting on Xbox approval for that, because that is Xbox compatible. You have the R5, which is more comparable, I would say, with the Logitech currently as far as what Moza actually offers, what you can buy right now. And then you can go R9, R12, R16. There's even the 21. So I mean, it's all how crazy you want to go. Now, with each one of these, obviously there's more cost to that, but the nice thing with at least the Moza ecosystem, I can take this wheel, use it on an R5, and move it over to my R9 and still work just fine. As far as the R5 goes, the price point R5 with the base pedals, they're non-load cell, and again, we'll cover that more later on in the video, is right about on par. They're about even with each other. I think it's maybe $100 or so as far as that price difference. But with any direct drive, you're going to get a more real feel. That being said, the Moza R5 is not compatible without some dongles and some special software with the Xbox or the PlayStation. So keep that in mind. Fanatec does offer a very similar product. Theirs is more Xbox, PlayStation compatible. I don't own any Fanatec products currently. But again, I know guys that have them. They're great products, great quality, and you almost can't go wrong. We've covered steering wheels, which brings us to our next point. The probably single biggest thing that will make or break your sim racing or / iRacing endeavor, per se, is these guys right here. Pedals. Now these are the base pedals that come with the Logitech wheel. It's the only set that I have that's not attached to anything at the moment. So this is kind of where, you know, I said we were going to talk about this a little bit later in the video. These are good pedals. They're a great starter set. But you will instantly, I shouldn't say instantly, you'll quickly find yourself needing more feel. And I say that because if you watch, the brake pedal moves real easy. I mean, it's comparable to the gas pedal. A little bit stiffer when you get it towards the bottom, but it doesn't have what I call a real feel. It doesn't mimic your car in real life, which is probably the single-handed biggest thing when it comes to road racing with these things. I did the 12-hour Bathurst with these and wanted to throw them out a window by the time I was done. But when I say it doesn't have a real feel, and it's all in how it actually works, this uses potentiometers, so it measures that amount of travel to figure out how much brake to put in the car. When you get to something like a load cell kit, it's measuring the amount of pressure you're putting on the pedal, not the amount of movement you're putting into that pedal. So it's a more realistic, much more tunable brake pedal setup. As far as what a good, you know, buy into that load cell setup, Moza has the SRP pedals. They're about $180. Fanatec has multiple different pedals, but as far as, you know, if you're looking at, I'm going to go decent on the steering wheel price, but I want to spend a little bit more on my pedals, I would look at the Moza or the Fanatec, just because of the amount of customizability. You can change the dampers and the springs and get the feel that you're looking for out of the pedals. You can spend more, obviously, but again, if you're just getting into it and you want to make your experience the best that it can be, right off the bat, I would say, you know, probably go with a good middle of the road load cell brake setup like the SRPs or the Fanatec V2 pedals. Like I said, you can spend more, but I would look at, you know, what is going to work for me long run. I've got over a year on my SRP pedals. I've been more than happy. Never had anything break so far. So, you know, you don't need to spend a lot of money to be able to go fast and have fun in this game. All right, now we're getting more into equipment that is going to make having all this stuff, right? It's going to make it come together. So the third thing on my list here would have to be some sort of rig. I say rig, we can go as simple as wheel clamps, wheel stands, profile rigs, DIY 2x4 stuff. Again, all in what you're handy with, all in what you're comfortable with, all in what you have room for. Most people, they're not gonna go out and buy a profile rig right off the bat. It's a very lengthy process to put together. It takes up a lot of space. It just doesn't work for a lot of people. I say that because everybody has this idea of, I'm gonna be, like Max Verstappen, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get a profile rig right off the bat, which would be absolutely cool. But again, it's not for everybody. Some people don't want to take the time to put all that stuff together, or they don't have the room to put it in. So the first thing that I started out with was actually this wheel stand right here. It's very basic. It's made by GT Omega. There's a lot of other ones. You can get them on eBay that looks very similar to this. About 130 bucks. And you can see it's got the wheel tray for your rolling style chairs, so that way it can't roll back. It can mount many types of different wheels and pedal combinations. They have a shifter mount, very adjustable as far as up and down, and even tilt back, as well as where the pedals mount to, you can tilt that as well. The other nice thing with a wheel stand like this by GT Omega is they also offer, here on the left-hand side, the seat base and the actual seats. I actually use one of the seat bases with this wheel stand, and I just got a junkyard seat. This thing came out of a Pontiac GXP. If you haven't seen my rig, there's a great video of it over on my YouTube. I'll put a link down in the description so you can check that out. But this type of wheel stand, and again, you can get the same kind of idea off of eBay. There's cheap versions there as well. It's going to allow you to customize as you go. You can add to it. The only drawbacks that I've had with this wheel stand, it's a little wobbly. There are companies on eBay that sell stiffening bar kits. I actually bought a set, had them just in time for the 24-hour Daytona. Highly suggest it. It's about 46 bucks for those. But I did wind up having to go and get a shim for my wheelbase to get a little bit more angle out of it. Granted, I'm taller than most people, so that may be part of it. At 6'6", I've kind of got to adjust as well as I can. But again, this is a great adjustable piece that is going to make it a lot more fun. And the other nice thing is when you're done racing for the day, you want to go back to using just your computer desk to play The Sims. You want to play Roller Coaster Tycoon, whatever. You could fold this down, you could slide it under the desk, and your wheel's out of the way. The wheel's still mounted, so that way when you set it back up afterward, you just flip it up, hook everything up, and away you go. So another option that's out there is there's kind of a hybrid cockpit, if you will. I call it hybrid because, as you can see, it doesn't have a profile style metal to it. I believe this is the one that JD McHaley has. He's really happy with it. Works, much the same, two different pieces. Still some customizability. You can go with different seats and stuff like that. But obviously, again, an added cost. And this is your standard profile rig. Like I said, not everybody has room for this. It is quite big, quite wide. As you can see, I could probably fit in that without any issue whatsoever. But again, time consuming to put together. Cost has gone up considerably. You're looking at about $1,000. So, if this is something that you're looking for later on down the road, a basic wheel stand probably is not a horrible thing to have. just because it gives you something to use right now with the idea of, hey, later on I want to go this route. So we've got the wheel, we've got the pedals, we've got a rig. What more could we look at? Well, number 4 on our list is going to be your monitor setup. Whether it's single, whether you're running triple, or there's the VR option as well. I personally don't have any experience with VR other than I know playing it outside of iRacing, it's very heavy. It can get hot. I've also heard that frame rates are kind of an issue there. So that's something to be mindful of. Now, we're going to focus mainly on singles or triples here. From a cost standpoint, obviously, a single is always going to be cheaper. That's just the way it's going to be. That's not to say that you can't have fun on a single. I started out on a 34-inch widescreen. Worked great. The choice of how you're going to go about this is going to be dependent on what you have for a graphics card. Like I said, I know JD McHaley runs triple 27s on a 3060 without issue. I had triple 27s. That's what I have right now. I ran it on a 3080. I now have a 4070 Ti. You know, again, higher end graphics cards, but you kind of have some flexibility here. I had Robin on an AMD, what was that, a 6650 with a 34-inch widescreen. Ran just fine, about 150 frames. The main thing that you want to focus on, at least in my opinion, I would want to see at least 120 frames, or try to match that as good as you can get, because it's going to take that eye strain away. It's going to make it run more fluid. If you want to go triples, but let's say you don't have the money right yet to go triples, like you've got the graphics card, you've got everything set to go. 27 inches is pretty solid in size. I don't think I would go much bigger than, say, a 32. I'm running 1080p's. The big thing that you want to make sure that you can do is, okay, you've got one screen. Can I get the same screen at least 2 more times? So that way everything is similar. You don't have any funky heights, no funky sizes, no weird bezels, anything like that. You know, you can do a 49-inch ultra wide if you want to. To me, it's not enough curve to give you the true view that you're looking for. Again, you can run on a single. I Crash Weekly, he's on a single, works just fine for him. Obviously triples give you that left-right head movement. So that's something to kind of think about. Just my screen setup alone, I went with refurbed ACER nitros that are 165 hertz, 1 millisecond latency. I got them off eBay. They were about $100 a piece. I've had them about 4 months now. Haven't had an issue, unless you look back over here, which you can't see right now. I did drop one. That's a whole nother story. Don't even want to. Needless to say, don't take your rig with you anywhere. That being said, you know, I could go to 32s. Acer offers a lot of refurb stuff direct from the factory. I've been very happy with these screens, and talked a couple of the other guys into getting them. They love them too. So that's, you know, any way you can think of to keep the cost down. Like, why does, you know, sim racing shouldn't have to be super expensive. Yes, there's certain components where we can't cut cost, but, you know, screens, if they last 3 years, you know, you're pretty solid there. Obviously you want them to last longer, but if they don't, it doesn't have to be expensive. So, you know, that's an option. Again, I would look at it like a 3060 graphics card as my benchmark for lowest I would go to run triples. You might be able to get away with it on a 3050, but you know, the main thing is making sure you get screens that got a great refresh rate, and that you're going to be happy with. That's the key thing there. But I would say that the screens after the other 3 will definitely make your racing experience much better. Right, so the last thing that we've got here is more of a personal preference kind of thing. So we've got, you know, all this equipment, and we're rolling with it, but we need more info. This is where number 5 comes in, mostly accessories. I say that from a standpoint of a good headset, because you want to be able to hear your spotter in game. Various different pieces of software like Race Labs, which I have a great video on as well. You can use SimHub to do various things, and this is where our cost can start to do this. I say that because there's lots of various things like wind sims or various accessories to make our rigs better. Like I use a Stream Deck for a button box. Was a great idea. You know, there's a lot of options as far as how to build button boxes, but if you don't have the expertise and the know-how on the electrical side, a Stream Deck button box works really nice, very handy. I also got a mount for it off of Etsy. I will put a link in that works for the Moza. I'll put a link to that in the description. But then I can set up all my various adjustments for pits, for tires, fuel, traction control, battery deploy, all of that stuff. Other things to look at, I had to get a wedge for my wheel. I got that off of Etsy from the same guy that I got the button box mount from. There's a lot of great things as far as various mounts. You know, hell, you can even get drink holders and stuff for various rigs. You know, look at Etsy for some of this stuff that, you know, if you don't have the expertise to build it, you could buy it. Somebody probably makes it. It's a great source. You can also look at various different wheels that people make that you can 3D print if you're good at that. But anything that allows your immersion to become better, to make you more one with the game, is going to make your experience that much more. And this is not stuff that you necessarily have to start out with, but it's stuff to look at long term. Especially if you decide, hey, this is really for me. I want to keep going. I want to have more fun. I want this to be more real. You're going to have more expense. I mean, it's unfortunately the nature of it. So it all depends on, again, like I said at the start of the video, what do you want to do with it? How far do you want to go with it? Do you want to push it to that road to pro? Do you want to try to become, you know, a paid iRacer, if you will? To do that, you're gonna have to probably look at better equipment and better screens and better computer. But you know, to be able to get into iRacing, to have fun, you don't have to spend a crazy amount. And you might find that just doing this, you like tinkering, and you got a 3D printer, and hey, I found something that I want to make for these guys, and you know, sell back to the community, that sort of thing. Yoda in our group, he's a prime example. Guy loves to tweak. He's always tweaking on his rig setup, and I think that's awesome. You know, from a hobbyist standpoint to a guy that wants to be a pro racer or challenge pro racers for wins, there's a little something for everybody in all of this. So you know, kind of keep that in mind as you're looking. You know, how do I want to go about getting into this? Is it something that I'm going to dabble in iRacing, rFactor, Assetto Corsa, you know, American Truck Sim? It all kind of links together. So, you know, keep that in mind as you're looking at this and looking to put things together. So, but I hope I was able to answer most of your questions. If I didn't, put it in the comments. I'm more than willing to help answer it. I'll put my Discord in the description below. I'm more than happy to help answer any questions for somebody looking to get into iRacing or looking to maybe make their setup a little bit better even. So on that note, everybody, have a great day. Thank you for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one.